Good morning, Top Fan Rivalry followers. For Friday morning, we are done with the All-Star break. Jackson, tell me, has this not felt like the longest break ever?
Oh yes, this week has been dragging very, very long, and every day I get home, like at least I get to watch baseball. Psych, no, I don't. Only one day of a baseball game. There's the home run derby on Monday, then the All Star game on Tuesday. But happy to be here on Friday, and excited for the second half of the season.
Remind me, Jackson, who do you guys open up with? I haven't looked at it this morning.
The Chicago White Sox.
Okay, the White Stockings. They are struggling, so you might be able to take 2 out of 3 there.
I looking at Atlanta's remaining schedule outside of a few series, it's a weird schedule. They play a lot of soft teams, and then one that's not a soft team, it's a division leader. So it'll be an interesting second half, that's for sure. Hopefully they just keep rolling. I'll have to think about it.
Hopefully, but we'll see, right? We'll see. All right, Jackson, let's get into it, baby. It's Friday. It's shipping day for us. We got a bunch of stuff that we're shipping out, a bunch of pre-order stuff that we are now up on the website. You can now pre-order Top Fan Rivalry. Wait for it. Jerseys.
Ooh, yes.
Yes,
We
sir.
mentioned that a little bit last week. How much do those cost, Bill?
I'm gonna show you right now. I'm gonna show you right now. Oops. Um, I'm gonna share my screen here, and we are going to do that right now. This is a little awkward, but I hadn't thought of this. So here's your team store if you're looking in here. And bada bing, pre-order 67.15. So they're striped and they're gonna come in different colors, but they're striped. And so like you got your Braves red in there, right? Top Fan Rivalry logo. You got the old school logo, the 01 on there. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
I have a question that some people are probably thinking. Can you use a discount code on top of that pre-order price?
Sure. Why not? What
Oh,
discount code were you thinking of?
I mean, they could use code Jackson.
They
Get
could.
get the 10% off your pre-order. Get that.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And did you notice we have baseball cards now too? Trading cards.
All right.
Yeah. Diamonds are a girl's best friend, Jackson. Look at that. And then on the back, they got the Top Fan Rivalry logo right there. Like baseball was, is, and always will be the best game in the world. George Herman Ruth, right? Does it get any
Oh,
better than
yeah. Lots of new stuff. Use code Jackson in the store to get 10% off a t-shirt, a trading card, maybe
trading
both, a hat,
everything? But
everything.
anyways, enough of the commercial, Jackson. Tell me
Enough.
what you got for your number one right now.
Uh, how about who's hot and who's not heading into the All-Star break? It that last weekend series, there were some pretty big series that were played. Atlanta played Tampa Bay. Atlanta took 2 out of 3. I talked about Atlanta last week, so I won't talk about them too much, other than they're firmly in first place.
Homer.
They're firmly in first place with the best record in the MLB. But how about the Miami Marlins taking 2 out of 3 from Philadelphia over the weekend to maintain their wild card lead? So they're still hot. Cincinnati, has a 1-game lead over Milwaukee. They played pretty well over the weekend. And the Dodgers, I'm sure you'll talk about them, so I'll leave them for you. But, Texas is kind of scuffled. Houston's 2 games back now after a rough weekend for Texas. And yeah, Baltimore's won 5 in a row heading into the break. So Baltimore's just 2 games back. So the American League, 2 races. I think the AL West, where Houston's kind of creeping up on the Rangers there, and Baltimore's creeping up on Tampa Bay. Bill, who do you think has a better chance of catching the division leader, the Astros or the Orioles?
Astros.
My question. The Astros?
Yeah. Yeah. Orioles, I can see how it could happen, but I'm gonna say Astros.
The Astros.
Yeah.
I would agree with you, just because the Astros got some guys on the IL that if they get back, it's
Dangerous.
it's more than dangerous. Yordan Alvarez is a baseball player. We'll just
Good
but yeah,
call, good call.
that's kind of my number one. A lot of teams rolling into the break. A lot of division leads. A lot of divisions still tight.
Yeah.
Into the second.
Agreed. Astros. Okay, so that's your number one. My number one was obviously the division leads. You kind of stole the thunder there, but interestingly enough, I've done a lot because I'm not used to having this Thursday off, right? So it drives me batty that we have this Thursday off, but whatever, right? So I'm looking at it, the division leads. A lot of them are changing course. Did you realize that the Detroit Tigers are 11 games under 500 and are only 5.5 back in the Central, in the American League Central? They still got a shot, right? Did you realize? Did you realize that the Boston Red Sox are in last place? They're like 3 games over 500. They're in last place in their division, but they're only 2 games out of the wild card.
That is another team I didn't mention. They've won 5 in a row heading into the break. Yeah.
Right. The Angels, I'm not going to call them the Los Angeles Angels. The Angels are doing what the Angels do. They get you all excited at the beginning of the season, and then they like say, thanks for, the tickets and everything like that. We're going to throw the brakes on here. But like Timothy Looper. And another thing, wait till next year.
I mean,
And then of course,
they have a whole starting lineup in the bench on the IL.
So do the Dodgers.
I mean,
So do the Dodgers. If you told me that somebody asked me at the beginning of the season, is Bobby Miller going to play this season? I said, no, he is in Double A. It'll be he or Gavin Stone will not make their appearances here. We're relying on these dudes now, right? Clayton Kershaw's on the IL. Noah Syndergaard is hopefully going to get DFA'd. Yeah, I mean,
I know,
so
but
I I
you
don't
know,
need excuses. This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is coming from a Braves fan who says my diamond shoes don't fit. We are the best in baseball, and everybody back off. This is where this. No, I'm teasing Jackson. Anyways, division leaders changing up course. What do you got for number two?
number two. I mean, I guess we should just go out of the weekend and I'll mention Monday. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. won the home run derby and became the first son of a home run derby winner to win the home run
Sir, yes, sir.
derby. So congratulations. And looking at him always makes me laugh because Junior's built. He's a big guy. Vladimir Guerrero Sr. was kind of a skinnier looking guy. He's really tall and kind of lanky, but still had a ton of pop. I just think it's funny that the son he looks like his dad if you look at his face, but if you look at his build, he looks nothing like his dad.
So every time I see, like, they were putting water on the back of his neck, and I'm like, I picked him to lose in the first round just because of the way that the rules were, right? You've got 3 minutes. Then, in addition to 3 minutes, you can earn an extra minute. Like, the way that I looked at it, I didn't think he had the stamina to get through the first round. But Mookie Betts was playing gappers, like he was hitting a bunch of doubles. If it was a doubles competition, Mookie Betts would have won.
Yeah, I find that complete hitters tend to struggle in the home run derby more. Acuna did it a couple of years ago, and it was the same thing. He kept hitting everything, and it's
Yeah.
like, whoops, I'm too good of a hitter. Whoops.
Oops. Exactly. Love it.
But
Love it. Love it. Love it.
congratulations to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and shout out to the kid who got nailed by his 110-mile-an-hour line drive. I hope you're okay.
Dude, look towards home plate if you're gonna.
I think he was. I think he just didn't see. He had his glove up.
Oh, he wasn't. He wasn't looking towards home plate until somebody said heads up. So yeah, yeah. Sorry about your luck there, big guy. So I'm gonna go on number two. I'm gonna go with the home run derby, but I'm gonna give you a little statistical things. I am going to steal. This is where Jackson is rubbing off on Bill. I'm gonna geek out on some stats here for a second. Okay.
Okay.
You had 8 hitters that had a combined total of 24 minutes in the first round. You had 4 hitters that had a combined total of 16 minutes. That's 40 minutes. Okay. Then you had 2 hitters that had 2 minutes each. So that's 42 minutes. Some of them earned additional time. Some of them did not earn additional time. Some of them didn't use all their time. So give or take, I'm going to say there was about 51 minutes of swing time. Of those 51 minutes, 341 home runs were hit. That's an awful lot of swings. I don't care how tough you are. There's no, like, that's crazy. And Rushman looked good, right? He looks 12, but he looked good. I mean,
He, he
all
was
these
he was switch
guys.
he was switch hit after his timeout.
Yeah, I know. He went up as a right-handed, boom, boom, boom. But 341 hits or 341 home runs hit, and what I could look up the exact amount of minutes, but I'm going to say it was about 51, Jackson. That's a lot of home runs to be hit in under an hour. So the home run derby did not disappoint, even though you saw players in it. You're like, what? Rushman's going to compete? Wait, what? The Garcia's going to what? Or Rosarena's going to compete? Huh? Like the names didn't just jump off the page at you, but it did not disappoint. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of how they broadcast it. It's kind of hard to with how fast it goes. I do wish they would let them admire a few of the moonshots. Somebody, I was reading an article this week about it actually, and how last year at the previous home run derby show, hey, hit a couple home runs over 500 feet, but nobody really noticed because the broadcast was moving so quick. I wish they were able to call. They had but the umpire or somebody would call timeout when someone absolutely just domes one. It's an absolute missile or something. Give them
So
5 seconds and just pause the clock for 5 seconds and
yeah.
then throw the next pitch. But
The the other thing about the home run derby that I'll mention, and I'll get off this topic and let you go to number three. The other thing that I'm going to say is it was a very touching story about Pete Alonso and who was going to pitch to him and how it didn't work out. I feel bad for Pete Alonso because that dude was not throwing strikes to him, and he was like throwing curveballs. I'm like, dude, it just throw. And Pete, I respected Pete more because the first thing I said, so I'm sitting around a group of people, and I said, "This is great. I love it. It's for the fans. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Nobody gets hurt in this, right?" And so that being said, I was glad to see Pete take a couple of pitches. I really, really was. I really, really was. Because I didn't want Pete to get hurt. So
yeah,
that's my number two.
all right.
What you got for number three?
I mean, how about the National League finally winning the All Star since 2012? Uh, Bill, I'm gonna trivia question you real quick. I bet you weren't expecting this. Who was the last winning pitcher for the National League in the All Star game before this last one?
For this last one, the last winning pitcher, Sandy Koufax.
For the National League?
Yeah, that's how long it's been since they won. No, I'm
Not
teasing.
not quite. It was a San Francisco Giant, Matt Cain,
Kane. Yep.
actually. So Camilo Doval got the win for the National League, also a Giant. So yeah, it's been a while for the National League. Another close game decided by 3 runs or less. You know, for the first every single game since that last time the National League won. So, I mean, it kind of seems like a snoozer for some people. A lot of 3 up, 3 down. I thought it was a really well played game. A lot of good defensive plays,
Yeah.
and
I did
most
like
importantly, Bill, nobody got hurt.
yes, and I did like the fact that I did like the fact that you had pitchers only pitching 1 inning. They tune up, they're only going out there for 1 inning. I like the fact that it was a true ball game. It was the best of the best competing at the highest level, right? And so I liked it. I liked it.
It was fun. It was just like if you got the guys together to play a game. They played a nice tight game. Everyone wanted to win. So
So I am going to probably on number three, I'm probably going to steal your thunder, considering the shirt that you're wearing. Um, what got announced today, Jax? I'm sorry, what got announced yesterday on Thursday? Sorry, I don't even know my days. What got announced on Thursday?
Thursday, are you talking about the Korea series?
Well, the World Tour. So
Oh, yeah.
you have in March during spring training, there's going to be two games played um, in the Dominican Republic. I think it's March 9th and 10th. You've got the Dodgers versus the Padres in Korea in late March. In April, they're going back to the launching pad. And uh, is it, I think it's Houston against Colorado in Mexico City. And then in June, the Phillies and the Mets are going to play each other in London. So it, yeah. So the Major League Baseball is really trying to become a world sport. The only thing that I don't like about this, actually, there's two things. Only thing I don't like about it is you can't control the environment as much as you can here in the US or Toronto in Canada. Meaning not all the fields are built in the same type of capacity. For example, the Mexico series this year, would they have 16, 18 home runs or something like that in a 2 or 3 game span? I mean, that's why I call it the launch pad. Um, but you also have a number of the other thing, you got a number of days of travel, and going to Mexico City is no different than going to the East Coast. If you're a West Coast team, going to the East Coast, um, going to the Dominican Republic, and I want to say I can't remember the two teams, but they're both teams that play during spring training in Florida. So going from
Yeah, no,
Florida to Dominican Republic is
like
nothing.
2 hours, like 2 hours
Yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Going from anywhere, going for the Mets and the Phillies to go to London, that's not a 2 hour flight. Um, Going for the Dodgers and Padres to go to Seoul, Korea, that again, you have a number of days off that you got to give these guys, and though I think it's a great thing, you got to be careful. You got to
Yeah.
give these guys the travel time.
I did see though that for the Dodgers Padres series, they are playing it on like March 20th, so they'll probably get like a full week off.
No, no, I
Right.
think
They'll
they're.
probably actually play a few games out there.
If I'm not mistaken, they have, I think, 2 days off going and 1 day off coming back, just like they did with the London series.
But those are spring training games that they have to play on the way back, right? No?
No, I'll have to relook at Jackson fact check me on this because they announced the schedules today. So let me see if I can pull it up. Or they announced the schedules, I'm sorry, yesterday. But I'm almost positive that
Yeah, they'll be playing on the March 20th and the 21st. So they'll be a probably about a week before the season starts.
okay. But those, if I'm not mistaken, aren't those games regular season games?
Yes.
Yes, March 20th and 21st in Seoul, Korea. And then they don't play again until they come home 7 days later and play the Cardinals, which again, that's weird. Weird,
Uh,
wild stuff,
the,
but we'll take it.
the MLB did it a few years ago when Seattle played Oakland in Japan, I think it was.
That was
They
for
played them.
Ichiro's retirement, though, my friend.
Yeah, but they did the same thing where they played like a week before the season started. They came back. They
Yeah,
gave the players a few days off, and then they finished up spring training with those exhibition games that they did, and they jumped right back into the season.
yeah. That was for Ichiro's retirement, though. And that's a whole different that's a whole different ball game, right? So, well, that's my number three. What do you got for honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions, since it is officially the second half, we're going to be hearing a lot. I know you don't like trade speculation, but I want to hear from you. Who do you think is the biggest trade target that might be moved at this trade deadline?
Here we go. Do you want me to answer this honestly? You already know the answer.
I do I?
You already know the answer. It's Shohei. There's there's going to be 29 teams that are going to be chasing after him at the trade deadline, including the Braves. Um, I mentioned this on the live yesterday morning. Here's the issue that you're running with Shohei. Okay. Jackson, how old is Shohei? 25, 28, something like that?
I think he's 29.
29. Okay. So conceivably, he's looking for a 10-year deal, 600 plus million dollars, right? Play this out with me for a second, Jackson. Shohei gets a 10-year, $600 million contract with the Braves. Okay. Is he going to be able to pitch for 10 years? Probably not. And still be as effective as a hitter and or a pitcher. So in essence, you're hiring a pitcher for 4, maybe 5 years, and then you're hiring a DH for the next 5 years. And you're paying a DH $60 million a year. Make sense or no?
It's it is an interesting conundrum. I think Shohei Ohtani. I mean, Japanese players in general, the players that come over from the Japanese league tend to have some longevity to them. Because they usually come over later is when we see them, and they'll play 8, 9 years from
Right.
their 30s into their early 40s. So I don't think longevity is an issue. It's will he be worth that $60 million?
So yeah, I mean, longevity is not an issue. I think he'll play. I think he'll finish out that contract, that 10-year contract, right? So if he gets a 10-year contract out of it, I think he finishes out that 10 years. He'll be 39. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about his production. So at age 34, is he still going to compete for 15, 16 wins a season and still be able to hit 30 to 40 home runs? Something's going to give unless the baseball gods really, really,
Bigger if
really
he doesn't
love
have
him.
to stand him anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, remember, different time, but everybody compares him to Babe Ruth, right? Different time, everybody. Don't yell at me. It's a different time. But when Babe Ruth got older, he stopped pitching. He only hit. So in a situation where both leagues have a full have a DH now, do you really want to lock up that position for $60 million a year?
Depends. Can you win the World Series multiple times?
Maybe, maybe not,
Maybe,
maybe
maybe
not.
not.
But at that price tag, can you? Who knows? So fast forward. Let's say that you keep Austin Riley, Ronald Acuna, um, Matt Olson, and Sean Murphy. Okay, for the next 10 seasons, next 11 seasons. Okay. Shohei comes and signs with you guys. What happens in 5 years when Sean Murphy can't catch every day, but maybe you want his bat? Or Matt Olson can't play first base every day, but you still want his bat in the lineup? Or Ronald Acuna
Yeah,
Jr., is on a rehab thing and really can't play the outfield, but you really want him to bat. You can if you have Shohei. You're stuck,
yeah.
right?
It's an interesting debate. I personally don't think he'll be available at the trade deadline. I think the Angels might go in the opposite direction and go all in, all in.
I honestly think that the Angels, well, first of all, Shohei's agent has come out publicly and said, hey, we're going to test free agents. So even if you sign Shohei right now, you're not getting him for a long-term deal. Okay, he's a rental for 3 months. Now, he could sign with you later on, maybe, but he's a rental for 3 months, right? Um, who do I realistically think is going to get moved? Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
Derek Sanderson Jeter made a comment today that the New York Yankees, the Bronx Bombers, ought to chase after and go after who? Jackson, did you read the article? Yesterday's article?
No, I didn't.
Juan Soto.
Juan Soto. Ooh.
So imagine for a second if you had Giancarlo, I can't find a jersey that fits me correctly, Stanton, Arson Judge, and Juan Soto in that outfield. Hmm. Hmm. And just for fun, what happens if you hired a full-time DH in Shohei Ohtani? That lineup right there should get you 110 wins. If it doesn't, then something's drastically, drastically wrong. So do I think that who do I think is the biggest
I
trade
but
piece?
would
I think Soto.
you think the Padres will trade Juan Soto?
Hmm. I do.
All right.
I do. What do you think? Who's the biggest trade piece on your side?
Uh, I think Paul Goldschmidt is on the trading
Mm-mm.
block. No,
Really? Really? I like
I
it,
think
but really?
the Cardinals are they're in dead last place in the Central. They got to move somebody, to get good young pitching. And I think Paul Goldschmidt's a good enough player that you could get good young controllable pitching back. And Goldschmidt's under control for next year, so he's not a rental. So that's a plus for the Cardinals. And then they have Jordan Walker, who realistically doesn't fit in the outfield and profiles better as a third or first baseman. So I think for the Cardinals, it makes sense to trade Paul Goldschmidt.
Hmm.
Do I think the Cardinals front office is competent enough to realize that? I don't know.
Yeah.
with their recent track record of
Will
moves, but
Smith's also 35 years old, and he's due to have a $26 million payout next season. So if you get Paul Goldschmidt, yeah, that's now. Do I think that the Cardinals ought to consider his other corner mate?
I don't think they'll trade Arenado. But I think Goldschmidt. I mean, Goldschmidt's having a pretty good year. He's hitting 284, got an 844 OPS, 15 home runs. I definitely think there's a lot of teams out there that could use a DH or a first baseman.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to see the Dodgers go after Nolan Arenado since he's a local kid and he's 32 years old. The only issue that you have there is he's owed $109 million over the next 4 seasons. So
That, and I think the Cardinals would ask a lot for him,
they
despite
may,
despite the $100 million price tag.
they may, they may. We'll see, right? We'll see. All right, Jackson, we've done gone and did it. Is there any honorable mentions that you would like to mention? Any shout outs, anything?
Shout out to Elias Diaz for winning All Star Game MVP, the first Rockies player to do so.
Okay. Okay. And I don't have a shout out. I have a prediction. Okay. Mark this down. July 14th, Friday, July 14th, 2023. Here's my prediction. As long as this individual stays healthy, this will be the last season that he does not make the All-Star team. Long as he stays healthy and continues to compete at the level that he is, Ellie De La Cruz will never miss another All-Star game.
Yeah, I think if he come up a month earlier, he was a lock, but came up a little too late.
Yeah. But do you agree with me on this one, Jackson?
I agree with you on that one. I mean, something that we didn't touch on from last week. He stole second base, stole third base, and then stole home plate. A Ricky Henderson-esque pitch, technically.
Yeah. The only thing he didn't do is steal first, which we know can be done. Just ask Javi Baez in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly try.
Exactly. Exactly. Jackson, thanks so much. I hope you have a great Friday. We need to talk soon about this trip to Philadelphia.
Yes.
And let's definitely talk soon about that. Maybe this weekend. And for you Top Fan Rivalry followers, don't forget to go on to topfanrivalry.com. Check out the team shop. And when you're there at the team shop, make sure you enter the discount code Jackson in all capitals. 10% off. Boom.
All right.
Jackson, thanks for your time.
Yeah. Have a good Friday.
You too.